Cyclops, X-Factor, X-Men. This guy breaks my rules. I like X-Men. That's fair. I've read an awful lot of X-Men. When I was really into them, I was really into them. This era of X-Men, the costume designs and whatnot, never cared. I liked some of the stories. Some of the biggest storylines in X-Men history happen here. That doesn't mean I ever liked this costume. I didn't like it in yellow and blue. I didn't like it when it was later white and blue. It's never been my favorite costume, ever, for any reason. And he breaks my rules. This Cyclops doesn't speak to me. It doesn't do anything for me. It's not something I bought because I love it. I bought this Cyclops for that blast effect alone. It's all I wanted. That is it. Blast effect. Brownp. That's all I cared about. It's all I wanted. And normally I would not do this. But I went to a store and I came across Marrow and this Cyclops at the same time. And I did happen to have money. My current line of budget at the time was at $300. And I hadn't found anything that week that I wanted, that pay period, and not that week, that pay period. I had not bought even one figure. And I come across this and I'm like, I really want that blast effect. And you could call it FOMO. I would not necessarily argue with you because it somewhat is. But I said to myself, you like X-Men. You know you're buying Marrow. That's a very much Marvel vs. Capcom. I wanted it. So I buy it. And then I say, if I'm buying her, and I'm sitting right here, I'm going to buy this. And I had to convince myself why. And I came up with a reason. And you can claim whatever level of convincing myself mental gymnastics I had to do for said reason. But I did it. We've all done it. Okay, don't act like you haven't done it. Don't act like in your collecting years you haven't picked something up that you didn't really necessarily love, but you said to yourself, I want this for whatever reason. I wanted that blast effect. And I said to myself, there is one benefit to this guy. Cyclops has two main looks. Hair, bodysuit. As a couple of my friends have referred to it as, the condom suit. Well, it just so happens that's what he wears in this era, is that full pulled up headgear. And the cool thing about that is that if the color works, I can swap this head onto my 80s Hulk, which I do like. Hulk. I said Hulk. 80s Cyclops. I could swap that head on the 80s Cyclops, which I like a lot. And then I can have a really cool blast effect that I can switch back and forth between the 90s and 80s Scott. And we are off to the races, man. So, this is not a perfect figure for me. But because I got it and I want to see this blast effect, we're going to check it out. Let's open him. All right. Well, here we are. Cyclops. There he is. Look, for what it's worth, it's not a bad body sculpt, okay? But I would claim that he's probably on par with all the other Cyclops that we've really had. He's got these deep cuts, which is fine. They work. He's got the double elbows, he's got the knees, he's got the feet, Everything is there. He's got this turn right down here instead of like, instead of like the swivel or whatever, which is fine. That's pretty standard for a lot of the Marvel Legends in general, so it's not exactly breaking my heart. He can straight... There you go, buddy. That is the pose of a hero right there. No, it's fine. Look, if you liked X Factor, you're not going to have a problem with this guy. It's going to work for you. But all in all, let's put his screaming head on. Stupid ball joint. There. There he is. There's one problem with these figures right now. These angry screaming heads have one gigantic flaw. And that is very simple. If you are not using the Brownp, they don't have anything else going. See that? He's just got this black space in his eyes, see? So black space. And the big problem with that is that you can't fix that. But we can put this blast effect on. There's the standard blast right there, and it's good. I really like these blasts. This new thing that they've got going, this, man, how many times have you bought a Cyclops and you've always just kind of had to like put this hand on and kind of wish that he could have done this? Now we can do it, man. That is awesome. And then on top of it, this one has an all new piece to the blast effect, which is so cool. He has an impact effect. Now, we can actually get this going where he actually puts that finger up to the side of his head, pushes the blast, it comes out, and then something more manly than Scott doesn't care. Like, that, look at that. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but that is a very simple effect. That, like, if you play around with this, you can get 1,000 different poses, 1,000 different Brownps, 1,000 different hits, and it will always be cool. This simple piece right here, this simple little effect, this simple little nothing, was such a big deal that I bought a character I didn't even necessarily want just for that. And because his head is the way it is, I think I can get it on the 1980s Cyclops. And I'm curious, how much of a pain is it to dig out the 80s Cyclops? Let me go back to the shelf and see real quick. Okay, so, look. That's 80s Cyclops. I got him in the Toys R Us pack years ago with Dark Phoenix. And for what it's worth, this Cyclops has really stood the test of time. That's a solid Cyclops. But I worry that his colors are too dark. Doesn't seem like the ball joint has changed. Ooh, okay. So here's the thing. That's what it looks like. I don't... Okay, so here's the thing. I think some people are not really going to notice it that much. But I'm noticing it. I think that this might be a hard sale. It's too bright blue. So I may be stuck with him being X Factor Cyclops. That being said, while it may kind of not do what I wanted it to do, it's not a bad Cyclops. Like I said, his body is solid. He will move right. He will do a million different poses. And X Factor was a fantastic era of X-Men. So, I mean, I've got nothing against that. I just kind of wish that it would have worked. However, this blast effect, would it work for 97 Cyclops? Just the effect. I don't see why it wouldn't. You imagine they have to be thinking at this point to make things somewhat universal, right? Let me go dig him off the shelf. All right. That is 97 Cyclops right here. 97 Cyclops has this blast effect. Not a bad effect, to be fair. I like it a lot. I use it a lot. That's a good blast effect. Bromp, right? That's fantastic. I love the fact that he gets these now. But I gotta know. Okay, hold on. Let me see. You know, you got to force it a little bit, but it does work. There it is. You can get this blast effect to work with that Cyclops. And now my 90s Cyclops can shoot the Sentinel. And yes, I did buy that Sentinel. So when that Sentinel shows up, you better believe there's going to be some pictures with that blast hitting that Sentinel. So even if all I did was buy a Cyclops specifically for a blast effect, at the very least, it is one of the coolest blast effects ever. And I can't be mad about that. Not for a Marvel Legends price. I mean, I will say, however, them doing stuff like this, they're probably going to be able to con a lot more money out of me if they keep releasing Cyclopses, and every time they do, they give it a slightly different blast effect. I really hope that's not in the future, but they could steal some real money from me if they just keep releasing Bromps, okay?
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.